What is going on, guys, and welcome back, and let's break down how you guys can learn how to play Lone Druid. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. If you guys learned something, leave a comment down below and consider subscribing and joining the Dota Chronicles community. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. So first, let's break down some key tips on playing Lone Druid. The first tip I'm going to be telling you guys is to always save a skill point for the bear. Once you guys get a root on an enemy hero and you have a skill point to level up the bear, that root cooldown actually resets, so you can actually double root somebody, which is very important, especially in the laning phase. Especially to get more kill threat, you're able to almost double root almost every single time. Honestly, RNG has to be on your favor sometimes, because that one hit that you might get off before an enemy runs away might not be the root, but at least you have the chance to do so. The second one is don't fight for runes. I know a lot of Lone Druid players enjoy going for runes. It's not the right play. Honestly, the higher MMR you go, the more they're going to punish you for doing this, just because you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. Let's say you guys get first blood, but you lose your bear. There goes your laning phase pretty much. Like, you're pretty much going to lose because you're not going to have the bear. It's just not worth it. At the end of the day, get your rune and back off. You could maybe go for a 5-man smoke, but it's just not worth it unless your team is just outmatching them so hard at level 1 that it's just pretty much free. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend going for any level 1 plays to risk the bear actually dying, because that is the biggest problem in the laning phase. Another key tip is to stay in lane and farm unless you're being pushed out by one of the counter matchups I will be mentioning later on, and you guys are not being pressured as hard. Stay in the lane, farm. Don't listen to your team. A lot of your teammates are just gonna say, hey, why don't you rotate? Like, what's going on? Where's my mid? And they're gonna be pressuring you to rotate. If you are getting free farm in the mid lane as a Lone Druid, don't rotate. Stay in your lane, get your farm, because that's going to be a lot more important for you to hit those key item timings, which is what Lone Druid is all about. If you fall behind on farm and XP, it's going to be a really big issue, because you're no longer going to be as strong on the map. You rely a lot on having that extra advantage where you're really strong because you have the bear, and now since you're universal, it makes you a lot stronger because you're able to go for different item builds that you weren't able to go before when this hero was an agility hero. You're one of the strongest tower taking heroes in the game, so take advantage of that and take the mid tower or the safe lane tower. You can play Lone Druid pretty much in any of the 3 core positions, but mainly mid lane and safe lane are his best positions. Take that mid lane tower nice and easy and try to not feed away the bear, as it is quite a bit of gold. You definitely don't want to feed those away, and play as aggressive as you can. Try and shove out the lane as much as possible. You can easily take jungle camps, especially with the facet bear with me, because the Lone Druid's attacks actually heal the bear, which is very, very important. And the second facet is basically true form on the bear. This one is not great. Honestly, it has like a 30% win rate. Like, practically nobody's playing this. The only sense I see of you actually picking this facet and wanting the bear to have true form is if you're going to be playing with Scepter, where you're going to be running with the bear and split pushing pretty much away from the map. You're going to have your Lone Druid farming the side camps as safe as possible, and you're going to have the bear just kind of going to town and doing your own thing. That way is probably the only way you should be playing this. If you like that style of Lone Druid where it's just absolute split pushing, then you can definitely go for this. Other than that, you have to take bear with me. It is the best facet by far. Your innate ability is basically you have access to your bear at level 1, which is really, really cool, because you can start with 1 point in bear and 1 point in spirit link, which makes your laning prowess a lot better. Problem is, this hero's win rate isn't as high as it should be, mostly because the heroes that are in meta are pretty strong against Lone Druid, so hence why he's only at a 50.8% win rate. It's still very respectable. This hero has been coming up lately. His win rate used to be around 47%, so he has been coming up, which is really nice to see. Lone Druid is one of my favorite heroes in the game, so I definitely like to play this hero, and I don't like to see when Lone Druid is just absolute trash. It kind of feels really, really bad, because the hero is just super fun to play. Now let's break down some of the item builds. There's a lot of item builds you guys can go for on the Lone Druid. One of the really popular ones is rushing Diffusal and then going back for your treads and Echo Saber. That is a really strong build that helps you stay quite active. You could also go for items like Orchid. You could go for Radiance if you're facing up against Illusion heroes. You could pretty much go Radiance into Mjolnir, and that's going to give you a lot of wave clear, and you're not going to have so much issues with Illusion heroes. You could also build Scotty. You could build Monkey King Bar, Daedalus. It honestly depends what you guys want in the game. You could go for the classic Treads, Desolator, Mask of Madness. Very, very solid still, even with the Assault Cross. Like, you're just going for minus armor, especially if you're playing with minus armor heroes like Slardar. It's going to make a lot of sense for you to go for that item build, people are just going to be bursting left, right, and center. So make sure you guys see your team comp. Make sure you guys see what you actually need in the game. You could always go for items like Mage Slayer. You could go for Nullifier. You can go for a lot of different items. So definitely try different item builds every single game, because not every game you're going to need the same items. But if you guys get the Diffusal, the Harpoon, and items like AC and Monkey King, well, you're going to be doing quite well. The hero's just going to be super tanky and going to be hitting like an absolute truck. So definitely don't sleep on that. And if you see that you guys are dying quite a bit on your main druid, get your Aghanim Scepter and keep your main druid out of sight and just play around with the bear. There's no shame in playing with the bear and having your main druid in base. We've all done it. Anybody who's ever played Lone Druid and wasn't good at micro before playing this hero understands that you cannot do both things at the same time early on. Once you guys get good at Lone Druid, it's second nature. It becomes very easy for you to control the bear and the main druid at the same time. At the beginning, I have to admit, I was keeping my main druid at base all the time and just playing around with my bear. It was really nice because I was ratting and just winning games off the back of people not paying attention to the map. It is very fun to play that way. The lower MMR you go, the more this play is actually going to work. I still recommend it, but at first, don't stress about it. Not everybody's good at micro. Even some of the best players in the world are not great at micro. So don't feel too bad about yourself or your teammates flaming you because your main druid's at base and you're just playing with the bear. At the end of the day, that's just fine. Just try and practice your micro and you will get better eventually. It's not the end of the world. I honestly started like that. It took me about 15 to 20 games to kind of get the hang of running the main druid and the bear and running them on different sides of the map. That definitely took some time to get, but playing with them together is very easy. Lone Druid is not as hard as it used to be. He's a much easier hero to actually play, but when you have one hero on one side of the map and you have the bear on the other side of the map, it could definitely be quite daunting to actually do that. But the Aghanim Scepter is a really great tool for you guys to pretty much play without fear. You could be feeding the bear, but in the mid to late game, it doesn't really matter as much. Like the cooldown is big, but in terms of gold, it's not a whole lot of gold when we're talking pretty much late game, like 40 minutes in. That's not really going to make a huge difference of you feeding a couple bears away here and there, but you're going to be taking a lot of towers as a result of that and get a lot of map pressure without really risking anything. You're just risking the bear. Your main druid could be farming a side camp or could be safely in base. It honestly depends on how good you are at micro and what is your playing style. If you guys like tower taking, then get your Aghanim Scepter and you're going to be doing much better, because that way you can be as far away as you want and you're going to be able to attack and do whatever you want with it. Now let's break down some of the best and worst matchups for the Lone Druid. Some of the best matchups are Anti-Mage, Ember Spirit, Storm, Puck, Void Spirit. Pretty much all the spirits you're good up against, even Earth Spirit as well. You're good against all the spirits. If you see any spirits from the mid lane, pick a Lone Druid. You're just gonna have a lot of fun. Heroes like Puck can do absolutely nothing to the Lone Druid. Ember eventually starts hitting pretty hard, but you're gonna be having so much armor on the bear and the main druid that it doesn't really matter a whole lot unless he goes for the magical Ember build, which that could definitely give you a little bit of problems here and there, but overall it's a counter matchup. You're gonna have a lot of fun and you're gonna be winning those lanes left, right, and center. They're just very simple heroes to beat up in the lane, and especially Ember, you're able to take care of him in the lane. You're able to push him out quite easily, so don't even stress about those matchups, and they're still very popular heroes. Some of the bad matchups are Omni Knight, Huskar, Monkey King, Phantom Assassin. These heroes are really good up against you. Heroes like Viper as well. These heroes can do a ton of work to you, and there's not a whole lot you can do. Like honestly, it's very annoying to go up against these matchups, especially Monkey King. Monkey King is such a brutal matchup for the Lone Druid because he can proc Jingu off the bear. The only way you're going to be winning this matchup is pretty much you're heavily out farming this Monkey King and out leveling him by a ton. Otherwise, the matchup gets pretty brutal because him just having Jingu off the bear is a really big issue because your way of doing damage is the bear. Back in the day, you weren't able to build Jingu on the bear, but ever since they changed that, Monkey King became a huge counter to the Lone Druid because back in the day, you were able to take care of the Monkey King lane and not really give a shit about him. But nowadays, you definitely care. He can do so much to you and there's not a whole lot you can do back. There's just way too much sustain coming out from Jingu. But obviously, if you play around with your teammates and you're not playing solo, then you can take care of Monkey. Monkey doesn't have the highest win rate right now and he isn't too great. Lone Druid is definitely in a much better spot in the meta than Monkey King is. So play around your team against these counter matchups and you're still going to be doing quite fine. And against heroes like Viper, you can always buy a Mage Slayer and it's going to help you out quite a bit. It's going to mitigate that damage and it's going to feel much better as a matchup. You can also build BKB and take take care of him that way. There's a lot of things you can do. One of my favorite things about Lone Druid is you're able to build pretty much whatever you need. The hero's just not bound by a set item build that you have to go every single game. It kind of used to be like that, but ever since he became universal where the bear benefits from stats, it was a total game changer. You're able to build Scotty. You're able to build pretty much anything your heart desires. You could even build a heart. Whatever you guys want to build on the hero, you definitely could. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about Lone Druid? He is a big threat, and if you guys are good Lone Druid players, you can make this hero work and put in a ton of work. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, a like would be much appreciated, and let me know in the comments which one is your favorite hero in Dota 2. That is the question for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.